It's been nearly an entire month since the Vision Pro came out. The honeymoon periods are winding down, plus there are a handful of unsatisfied customers out there that have gone as far as returning their Vision Pros. Personally on this matter, I've actually warmed up to the Vision Pro enough where I do find myself using it for hours and hours every single day. But with that, I've also had plenty of time to ponder among the positive things to the Vision Pro, a whole lot of negatives as well. So here are my top 10 things that I think Apple got wrong with the Vision Pro. Let's jump right in. The first gripe I have with the Vision Pro has to do with fitment, namely with how specific it is in order to get the best experience. It's a shame there isn't much leeway or flexibility when it comes to how the Vision Pro sits on your face. It's frustratingly not universal, which I guess is very characteristic of Apple, and that even extends to how you place an order for one of these. The steps can vary depending on whether you are buying in-store or online, but generally speaking, they have to do some kind of facial scan in order to figure out what size light seal will work best for you. And in case you're wondering just how variable fitment can get, it is said that there are about 28 different sizes of light seals available in order to accommodate all different kinds of facial structures. With that in mind, Apple's not kidding around when they recommend you get a proper fit, because if not for that, it can have serious implications on things like the comfort level, how much light leaks through the headset, which can absolutely break immersion, and most importantly, it can also affect the accuracy of eye tracking, which is all too important when navigating Vision OS. Combine every single one of these thoughts relating to fitment, and probably the biggest letdown in my eyes is that it is tailored specifically for the person that bought it. Which brings me to my next point. I really don't like the fact that Vision Pro is primarily intended to be a single user device. For something that costs so much money, it would be nice to have the ability to make multiple user profiles. Currently, the only way for other people to use your Vision Pro is to access it via guest mode, which is only really good for surface level demos at best. It would be awesome if everyone could set up with their own Apple IDs, as well as their own preferences and settings, as well as preloaded media that they have on iCloud. We at Overclock Media bought the Vision Pro with the hope that a bunch of us could set up in it in order to make content across all of our channels. But without the ability to properly do that, and since I was the one getting the most out of the headset anyway, the Vision Pro now mainly lives on Denki, which I'm certainly not mad about, but it would have been cool to make the most value out of our money by having our other channels work on it. It's seriously frustrating. I will say that the eye tracking is pretty spot on, like 90 to 95% of the time. But when it gets it wrong, boy, is it frustrating. You tend to see the system mess up when clicking on things like icons or hyperlinks in documents and web pages. However, I've also experienced some weirdness when I move windows higher up into the y-axis, where my eyes have a tendency to roll up a bit. Maybe the tracking starts to fall apart when it has to scan it at a weird angle. Though, a huge factor that can throw off the eye tracking accuracy is how the headset is sitting on your face. For example, maybe you are wearing the Vision Pro a little loose, where it has a tendency to droop down on your face. That can throw off the calibration on your eyes a bit, and whenever I'm running into a problem, the solution's actually relatively simple. You can redo your eye calibration on the spot. My only issue with this is that because it is in the settings app, it's a few too many steps to do when they could just put it in our control center. But realistically, the better solution here would just be to improve the Vision Pro's eye tracking via firmware updates, which I'd like to think is totally possible. Something else I found annoying with the Vision Pro is that its battery life is frustratingly short. Officially, Apple claims that you can get up to around 2 hours of use on a single charge, which to their credit is pretty much what I've been getting in my testing, but in my opinion, that's not really enough. I can spend literally hours at a time using the headset, but in order for me to do that, I have to stay tethered to a wall or carry around another big battery. And the huge consequence there is that it can really take you out of the experience. I will say that for me personally, this hasn't been a hugely critical issue because I mainly use the Vision Pro while sitting down. However, once you stand up and especially walk around the room to experience some AR, that's where being tied to the wall or an extra battery can start to feel cumbersome. Another thing I find annoying about the Vision Pro is that the app support is quite literally mid. Naturally, there are tons of positives to be had here, especially with the idea that Vision Pro apps are coming out on the store every single day, and you have a ton of iPhone and iPad apps that are enabled for Vision OS. However, that being said, there are still some pretty significant gaps. The pretty obvious one, I was already searching for it, Netflix isn't on here. I'm actually recording this on the day that F1 Drive to Survive is coming out, which is a shame that I can't watch this natively on my $3,500 headset. Instead, I have to go on the web browser to netflix.com, which is suboptimal. However, that's not to say that all hope is lost. Some developers that initially held off, such as YouTube, will have Vision Pro enable apps at some point in the future. But at the very least, if you are looking for something and the APIs are up to snuff, then there are probably third-party options that exist. This one's Juno, which is for YouTube. But regardless, here's hoping that more native solutions will exist down the line as more people adopt these headsets. Speaking of apps, one service that I was happy to see enabled on the Vision Pro is the sponsor of today's video, Brilliant. Brilliant is the best way to learn about math, data, and computer science. Whether you are looking for advanced topics or core basics, Brilliant offers thousands of fun, interactive lessons that's tailored to what you want to learn. Lately, I've been curious about music distribution, and Brilliant has this awesome case study, which taught me how Spotify correlates data and probability to recommend songs to its users, and to predict how certain tracks land on its top 100 chart. Best of all, since I'm always super busy with work, I love that Brilliant divides its courses up into lessons so that I can easily learn at my own pace. If you would like to try out what Brilliant has to offer, I highly recommend signing up for their free full 30-day trial at brilliant.org/Denki or using the link in the description. The first 200 viewers to sign up will also get 20% off Brilliant's annual premium subscription. Huge thanks to Brilliant again for sponsoring today's video. And now, back to the downsides of the Apple Vision Pro. When it comes to Vision OS, generally speaking, I like the UX a lot, especially with how simple it is. However, with that, it is also missing some key functionality. For example, if I open up the home screen here, I find it rather frustrating that I can't set the order of the icons for the apps that I have installed. And I do use a lot of these apps more than others, and it'd be nice to set the priority for what I actually care about right on the front page here, but I can't do that. Also, on the contrary to some users out there that might feel the effects of fatigue after using the Vision Pro for a little bit, I can keep this headset on for hours and hours on end. But something that I've noticed that's a bit frustrating with the way that Vision OS is set up is that it's very easy to get immersed in this thing and lose track of time or even your battery life. You can go into the control center to see that stuff, but it is kind of cumbersome to do that. And in addition, you can also download apps from the App Store to make those simple things kind of like widgets that you have to open up every single time you start start up the headset, and that admittedly is also annoying. It would be awesome if Apple could integrate some sort of HUD or visual overlay that has this information but just subtly, where maybe it's like in the corner or in your peripheral vision so it doesn't get in the way of your spatial computing. And there's also, oh, this one's really annoying. There's no alternate language support on the keyboard in Vision OS. Now, this might be par for the course since Vision Pro is only available for sale in the United States. However, I do find myself needing to use a Japanese keyboard from time to time. The other night, I was filling out a form in katakana to attend a concert in Tokyo later this year. And legit, I cannot do any of this on Vision Pro because there's no option for a Japanese keyboard. Look, there's no button here for it. It's really annoying. Lately, I've been watching some Japanese tech lifestyle YouTubers, and a handful of them actually flew out to the United States to buy a Vision Pro so that they can make content on it. However, without a native Japanese keyboard or the ability to bind their Japanese Apple ID to their Vision Pro, the functionality really is kept to a minimum. And that's a shame because on that side of the world, there's lots of media and apps that would be awesome to see on Vision Pro. So, fingers crossed that Apple can expand the reach of this product internationally so that our international bros can make the most of their $3,500 investment. Yeesh. Frustration number 8 that I have with the Apple Vision Pro is another UX thing, but is so bad that it deserves its own chapter. And that is the lack of synergy while using an iPhone. While the Vision Pro is aiming to augment a lot of tasks that you would do on your iPhone, iPad, and MacBook, there are still a lot of things that you can't do on this headset. For example, if you get a normal phone call, not a FaceTime call, but an actual cell phone call, that doesn't make it onto the Vision Pro. You actually have to grab your iPhone to answer it. Also, if you do have to bridge any gaps by using your iPhone, there is no way to unlock it with Face ID because you have this whole thing on your face. Also, I haven't really talked much about it in this video, but typing on the virtual keyboard in Vision OS is okay, but I think it would be cool if you could connect your iOS keyboard with your Vision Pro to make it a more seamless typing experience. The image quality of the pass-through could be a bit better. Just like the camera on your laptop or smartphone, Vision Pro thrives the best in well-lit environments. However, not everyone lives on a film set or an Apple commercial. Use the Vision Pro in dim to medium lighting, and you'll see that the image gets pretty grainy and soft, which can break the immersion. At the very least, Vision Pro does blur out your peripheral vision to focus in on the window you're actually looking at, which does also a good job of hiding the imperfections of the pass-through camera system. And if the image is bothering you a whole lot, you could just immerse yourself in a virtual environment and all of those issues will be nowhere to be seen. But you can also say the same thing about much of everything in life if you wear an Apple Vision Pro. I probably sound like a broken record at this point, but price really underscores everything when it comes to the Vision Pro. No matter how you look at it, the tech can be the best in the world, but $3,500 is steep. But obviously, the MSRP is not the final cost. Depending on where you live, tax might be a thing. And to protect your investment, you'll also want Apple Care Plus. And naturally, when you're spending all of this money already, you'll probably want to factor in some accessories like a carrying case, or protective sleeves, or a battery holder, or even another battery. After all of this, adopting a Vision Pro can cost upwards of $5,000. As someone that's been looking to buy a used 1994 Toyota Camry, that's about the cost of a used 1994 Toyota Camry. The overall cost of the Vision Pro is the toughest pill to swallow. It absolutely diminishes the perception of the headset itself, the amount of work and design that Apple put into it, and even eats away at some of the future potential that this thing has in store. If it wasn't for this job and making content around the Vision Pro, I probably wouldn't have spent my own money to pick one up. And as I kind of alluded to in my first impressions video on the Vision Pro, a lot of the charm of this headset is hard to convey without actually trying it for yourself. That being said, I truly want the Vision Pro to succeed in a way where Apple can see its development further. It'd be nice to see a more polished version down the line, but also one that is more accessible, where the price point is lower and is available in more markets. Not only will increase perception, but will also push the technology further. That's where we all win, at least inside of my rose-tinted world. But let me know what you don't like about the Apple Vision Pro in the comments below. And otherwise, thanks for watching this video on Denki Channel.